Joining me is Edmund Ghareeb. He is a Middle East analyst and professor at George Washington University's Elliott School of International Affairs. Edmund, we've got this group heading to Moscow, this Turkish group. They support opposing sides. How likely is this Monday meeting going to resolve anything?
It certainly is going to be an important meeting because this might be a turning point in the relationship. Turkey and Russia have moved much closer together. There are a lot of common interests now, but there are also disagreements. Both sides are saying they would like to maintain close relationships. They have friendly relationship. The Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov said that his meeting with his Turkish counterpart was positive. And the Turkish minister said it was also the relationship was positive, but that both sides wanted to maintain that relationship. But there are serious differences over Idlib. And I think this meeting is going to be very significant in light of the changes that have been taking place on the ground.
Why Idlib? Why is this the last province, the standoff? It's so difficult to end there.
Primarily because that's where many of the groups which are classified as terrorists by the UN, by many countries, are there. There are also other opposition groups. There are many foreign fighters, including some from the so-called Islamic Turkestan army, which has a lot of Uyghurs amongst its members. So basically, this is the last major battle for Syria to regain control over all of its territory, except for the area that's still under the control of the Syrian Democratic Forces, which are mainly Kurdish-led groups. So basically, this is an important battle for the Syrian army because there are two major roads also. The main road that connects Damascus with Aleppo, that has been closed for almost 7-8 years. And the second one is between Latakia on the Mediterranean coast and Aleppo. Aleppo is the second capital of Syria, and so this is also very important for the Syrian government, which says it wants to regain control over all of its territory.
And Latakia, a very important region for Bashar al-Assad personally. Russia's foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, speaking in Munich, urged the world to work with Moscow. He dismissed Western notions of a Russian threat. Is he right? Is Russia the problem, or is it the solution, or perhaps is it both?
Well, I think there's no doubt. It depends on one's perspective, in a way, about what Russia is doing in Syria. But there's no doubt, at least Russia has been invited by a government that's recognized by the UN. It's considered the legitimate government, while other governments have troops on the ground which have not been invited by the Syrian government and are not authorized under international law by the UN Security Council. So at least the Russians seem to be in a much stronger position. And also there are a lot of double standards here. And we didn't see the same kind of hue and cry basically when Raqqa was being attacked and thousands and thousands of people died, and hundreds of thousands from there and also from other towns. The same thing in Mosul. When Mosul was attacked, we didn't see the same kind of expressions of anger. And also the same thing we haven't heard when Aleppo was being attacked. Universities, colleges, refugee centers, civilian areas. So basically, there is this double standard. But ultimately, you have the Syrian government is much stronger now. There have been major changes on the ground, in part to a large extent because of the support of Russia, the support of Iran. But this is Syrian territory, and the Syrians are saying they want to regain control over all of their territory.
Turkey already has some 2 to 3 million Syrian refugees living there. It's warning of another 1 million from Idlib province should there be a siege there. It says it can't take them. What happens then?
Well, that's a very good point. This is, in a sense, the danger. I think Turkey has a legitimate issue here. Primarily, they have about 3 million refugees. And then if you get another 1 million refugees, this is going to add a burden, another burden. But Turkey has also benefited from aid from the EU. Billions of dollars have gone to Turkey as well. And when the EU hasn't contributed, the doors were open to the refugees flooding to Europe, and we know the consequences.
But the EU benefits from Turkey handling this. But I want to ask you, what about the other Arab nations? Everyone simply appears to have disappeared from this discussion, and now it's Russia and Turkey. What about the Arab world?
Well, this is it. The Arab world has been divided, actually. As you know, there are many who have supported these opposition groups, the armed groups against the Syrian government. They wanted to see the overthrow of the Syrian regime. And then you have had others who have been either somewhat neutral, and then those who supported the Syrian government. So basically now, most of the Arab countries are preoccupied with their own problems, and so that's why we haven't heard much. Although what we have seen recently is that there has been a call by a number of Arab countries to return Syria to the Arab League, and a number of countries have also reopened embassies in Damascus, and some are providing some humanitarian assistance.
All right, Edmund Ghareeb there from George Washington University. Thank you for your insight.